We are live. So a very good morning, everyone, and welcome to this exciting LinkedIn Live session. Today, we explore an exciting collaboration between GLIDA and Statiq, focused on enhancing EV charging infrastructure and making electric mobility more accessible across India. My name is Sakshi, and I'll be your host for this insightful session. Before we begin, a quick note for our audience. Feel free to use the chat to share your thoughts and post questions. We'll address your questions live during the Q&A segment. Let's make this an interactive and engaging session. To start, let me introduce our esteemed speakers. Representing GLIDA, we have Mr. Avdesh Kumar Jha. Mr. Jha is the Executive Director of GLIDA, formerly known as Fortum Charge and Drive India. He's a passionate electric mobility supporter and an industry influencer renowned for his thought leadership and ability to inspire global audiences. Being a visionary leader in EV industry, Mr. Avdesh Jha will shed light on GLIDA's vision as a charge point operator. From Statiq, we are honored to have Mr. Raghav Arora, co-founder and chief technical officer of Statiq. He has a degree in engineering from VIT and has worked with corporates like Wipro and has trained more than 2,000 people in artificial intelligence and data analytics using DAV Python. He strives to accelerate the growth of EVs in India to ensure that technical upgradation is amalgamated with sustainability and that a balance is maintained. With deep expertise in EV charging solutions, Mr. Raghav Arora will share Statiq's journey as a charger OEM. Welcome, both of you. Now that we've set the stage for today's discussion, let's dive into the story behind this exciting collaboration between GLIDA and Statiq. Can you both share a bit about your organizations and the missions that drive them? So, would you like to start, and Raghav can continue after you?
Thank you, Sakshi, and good morning, listeners. Before I shared about the GLIDA and Statics collaboration and the intent behind that one, let me just uh, share with you that today is a very important day as far as Indian startup is concerned, and we are just on 15th January, and this is one day before India celebrates the National Startup Day. So every 16th January, we celebrate the National Startup Day, and that's very interesting. I mean, when we had scheduled this LinkedIn Live date, I was not aware, but I must say that the destiny was such that we had in this event the first and guest who is the co-founder of a startup. So, Raghav, good to have you as co-guest on this important day in Indian startups. And as far as GLIDA is concerned, we are a charge point operator, pure play charge point operator, who primarily operates in the four-wheeler segments, the car and the buses. Currently, we are operating close to around 1,000 charging points across 17 states, 33 cities, and along 16 highways. Uh, the as since we have been operating, we were operating in the Nordic countries for last 10 years, or more than 10 years, and we thought that the learnings, the experiences which we had in Nordic, why not we bring it to the Indian market as well? And with that approach, we started in 2017 studying this Indian market on the EV charging, and it has been a very satisfying journey, I would say, so far, because the Indian market is growing reasonably at a good pace, particularly in the four-wheeler segment where we do not have much subsidies, and so it is growing organically. And that's a good part. That organically, if it is growing, then it is likely to sustain the momentum for the long term. And obviously, charging infrastructure has been touted as one of the important requirement for mass adoption of the electric vehicles, particularly in the car segment and the bus segment. And that's where we have putting our effort that we should create a very reliable charging infrastructure which remains available to most of the charging uh, I would say the consumers all the time. And that's where this partnership with the Static is very, very important, because we though we have our own applications, but with the Static we are able to reach out to the many people, because they have a good network of the people, they have a good reach, and they have a good platform. the tech platforms they have. So these collaborations with the Static is multifold, but primarily it began with where we wanted to give the kind of a roaming platforms where our chargers on our network is available or visible or discoverable or can be used through the Static applications. And we have also the collaborations where Static, because for last 2 years, Static has also diversified themselves into being a charger OEM. So being the erstwhile CPOs, they have got the good learning that what kind of pain points the CPO face on the hardware side. And that's where they have taken upon the challenge to fix those issues with their product. And that's where we are also using their products in our network. So that is another uh, kind of a collaborations. And all these collaborations, the intent behind is that to make the user's EV journey smoother, more, I would say, relaxing, so that they don't have. I mean, while we bring in the availability of the chargers at every nook and corner of the country, they bring in the seamless experience of transacting at our charging stations. I would like Raghav to share his vision and Raghav, I would also like you to share your journey as a startup. That how you conceptualized Static as a venture, and how has been your experience so far.
Yeah. Oh, thank you, Avdesh sir, and thank you, Sakshi. First of all, it's a privilege for me to be invited for this session by an industry leader like you. Um Speaking about our journey and what Static has been doing, also it's very special for me to be present in this session uh, in and around India's Startup Week, and I'm also implicitly celebrating Indian startup ecosystem's success that always remains close to our heart as founders. Um, about Static's journey, so when we started in 2020, life has actually come a full circle for us because when Akshit and me started this journey, we were two engineers, and the aim. I remember meeting you in Pune in and around 2020 when we uh, technically did not even incorporate our company. And the idea that we were kind of brainstorming with you was we want to make a mobile application that can be given to EV users, and we can have all the chargers on it. So Static essentially started with a vision of making a very reliable, user-centric mobile application platform, and that's how we started stitching pieces across the EV charging ecosystem one after the other. Uh, when we launched this mobile application in 2020, there were practically very less number of chargers on ground. So while we were searching for chargers, the only chargers available were a few chargers from CESL, which was not a very reliable network, and then a few chargers from other government bodies, and then there were issues around roaming, and it had not matured in the market like in European market. So we had faced a lot of challenge in putting chargers on our mobile application. Sooner or later, we realized it is also imperative to put a few chargers ourselves to probably stir the ecosystem and give this experience to customers. And that is when Static started its journey of adding a few chargers on the Indian ecosystem charging map. So we kind of added chargers in the public space, chargers in the hubs. We operated these chargers, created a network. Uh, the aim of creating that network was in and around three missions, which was affordability, reliability, and accessibility. And we've been sticking to that particular vision while making other solutions for the charging ecosystem. So while we were solving for affordability, we sooner or later realized that charger OEMs that we were taking chargers from did not support a lot of innovation, agility in terms of what CPOs actually need. And that is actually when Static's journey of the decision of making a charger came from. So we were an EMSP who realized that there are no reliable CPOs, and then we were a CPO who realized there are no reliable charger OEMs. and organically we started researching on chargers. Um and then today we have a wide range of chargers that we produce, and sooner or later we realized that these chargers are going to be now used by various CPOs. So we've started giving these solutions to CPOs like GLIDA, because we think these can add a lot of value. So that's our charger sales business today, where we are supplying chargers, and we are now supplying chargers to CPOs, OEMs, fleets, and all sorts of customers, including government. Uh, while solving for reliability, reliability was always one of our top missions. And honestly, one of the only reliable networks that I knew of at that particular time was the GLIDA network, because government and other CPO chargers were not very reliable. So this was also a north star that we would want to make a reliable charging network. And Static has immensely done a huge amount of research in and around uh, how to provide EV charging at a reliable sentiment to our EV customers. In that sense, we innovated on mobile application, innovated on our software suite, brought in a lot of new technologies in mobile application world, stitched this entire piece, which was pretty broken from software to hardware. So our expertise kind of lies between software hardware integrations, where communications happen seamlessly. Uh, that's what we've kind of stitched today. And today we are supplying chargers and charging technology, including hardware and software, and that's how we became a tech first company. So today we are supplying chargers and charging technology to many major CPOs in the country, many major OEMs in the country. uh, uh, and that's how our journey has been. Actually, I can't hear you for some reason.
Can you hear me now, Raghav?
I can.
Yes.
Yeah.
Uh,
Good
and
to know
Sakshi,
the
just,
journey of.
Sakshi, can you hear me?
Yes, sir, I can hear you.
For some reason, my camera is has turned off, but then I'll fix it. But in the meantime, we can continue.
Yeah.
Sure, sir. So the next question that I have is, what inspired this collaboration and how did Glida and Static identify synergies in their goals? Raghav, maybe
Yes,
you can start.
yeah, yeah, Raghav. I mean, it will be good to hear your perspective as well, and the audience should understand that why we have collaborated.
Yeah. Yeah, so when we started venturing into this charging tech first business, and we started positioning ourselves into a prime aggregator for EV charging in the Indian ecosystem, it was extremely important for us to get a reliable CPO alongside the Static network on Static app. So Static network was always, a very reliable source of EV charging, and that's one feedback that we've always gotten from our customers. So we wanted to balance between getting a new CPO to start our aggregation journey, but also between getting a reliable CPO. So honestly, there was no better choice than GLIDA. Uh, that is when we started conversations with Avdesh sir and GLIDA team around how can we bring in higher utilizations. Another thing was, honestly, this was a barrier to be broken. At that particular time, a lot of CPOs in the market had one perception that how can a CPO become an aggregator? And if an aggregator is also a CPO, then would that not cannibalize their charging network demand and all of that, which doesn't happen in the European world, but this market we knew is going to mature eventually. But we wanted an early believer. We wanted someone who can break the glass ceiling and come and say, you know what, we are a CPO, we are a reliable CPO. If we can get listed on a reliable charging network, which can provide great user experience to our customers using digital solutions, then utilizations would increase for a CPO, and aggregation is a little different as a game in itself in the charging world. That is when I'm more grateful than capable, to be honest, for this partnership, because that is when we realized that yes, this is kind of resonating with the Glida team as well. And our user experience design, all of those value adds that we brought on the table, probably deemed fit for Glida as a CPO to increase utilization on Static as an EMSP. and that was just start of our journey. And GLIDA also remains a pivotal a breakthrough partnership for us as a company, because from there onwards a lot of CPOs started breaking their mind barrier around, can we be listed on an aggregator who's been a CPO. And today we hold around 75% of the total supply side of EV charging on level 3 DC chargers, with all major CPOs on our app. But alongside this journey, when we started adding value, I think we were also recognized for. We were also looking for a partnership where a company values technology. We've been pitching to a lot of CPOs, a lot of, because CPOs in India are essentially service providers. Service providers in India are focused on reducing the cost and getting the best to their customers. But in this particular industry, it's also very important to value technology while you're trying to reduce costs. So we were trying to look for a CPO who can also use our chargers in our charger OEM business, and that CPO that we were targeting for would ideally would have been a CPO who values technology, and GLIDA was another fit in that particular perspective, where the GLIDA team values technology in a very high fashion, not just costs. So our technology was kind of appreciated, and that's how we started supplying chargers to GLIDA. So organically, we do these two things together, and we're trying to bring in a lot of value with our tech solutions, and that is our primary aim. We want to empower CPOs with more and more technology solutions that we're building because of our own CPO expertise that we built over time.
Yeah, so Sakshi, I'll just add a few things what Raghav has said. I'll complement to that one. See, the underlying assumptions behind this collaboration by the two companies was essentially how to make the consumers' EV charging experience seamless. That was the bottom line, I would say. And obviously, that would require that you should have a great applications, because most of the people are currently using the mobile applications. Though both GLIDA as well as Statiq have a different products also, through which people can charge without downloading the mobile applications. Like in our network, we can use people can use the simply QR code for authorizing and making the payments, and the charging can happen. Similarly, the Statiq has a product of auto charge and other things as well. But since most of the people are still using, they are used to using the mobile applications, it was important that the experience and then more number of chargers should be visible on a particular one application, so that people do not have to download multiple applications. So the underlying reason was that the customer should get a better experience of charging. They don't have to uh, I would say swipe between different applications while roaming from one place to another. So that was one. And obviously, as a company, we evaluated many partners, because there are many players in India who is providing this kind of a roaming platforms. But then we settled on with a Static, obviously because of as a company, we are not a startup in a traditional sense of a startup, the way it is being treated. But within the organizations, we are also functioning as an internal startup. And as a company, our philosophy has been always to support the young founders. Whether it's a Static here in this case, similarly like in Hyderabad, and I have shared during the first LinkedIn Live on the commissioning of the Hyderabad airport hubs, that there we were promoting the startup who's involved in uh, ride hailing services. So they are operating the cab services, and we are supporting them through our network. So this has been also the uh, operating philosophy of GLIDA, that we promote the young founders who has good passion not only for the business but also for the governance. So that is another important element, because we believe that unless you are ethical, unless you are committed to the customers, and then unless you are transparent, the partnership doesn't go for a long. Obviously, any relationships uh, involves give and take, and that is where we found the Static as a very willing and a very credible partner, and that's how this collaboration has been designed. Obviously, uh, in all these collaborations, the intent is to increase the comfort, the convenience of the EV charging, whether it is through GLIDA or through Statiq, but that is what the objective of both the companies.
Thank you both for sharing the inspiring journey behind this partnership. Next, let's explore how this collaboration aims to address the key challenges facing the EV ecosystem today. So, what are the current barriers to widespread EV adoption in India? How does this partnership aim to resolve them?
Yeah, Raghav, should you
Yeah,
address this
yeah,
question?
yeah, for sure, sir. So see, current barriers to EV adoption in India is probably a list of a few things, and I believe uh, out of that list there is a subset of things that this collaboration and Static and Glida are already solving for. Honestly, uh, first and foremost problem in today's charging ecosystem is people talk about grid reliability, people talk about accessibility of charging infrastructure. Honestly, if planned well, people are taking their EVs to various remote areas today. Maybe you can't have your horse blinders on and say I'm going to take an EV somewhere, but if you are uh, using the route planners available at various interfaces, you can actually plan your EV trips. Which brings me to the most important barrier today, and that is the perception about EV charging being reliable. Since we are in this own industry and it is near and dear to our heart, we keep saying that EV charging is probably very reliable. But the perception out there is still that EV charging probably does not give you as much confidence as you filling petrol. So when you go to a fuel station, you're very less likely to be worried about not getting fuel on that station. Whereas when you go to a charger, no matter how reliable the network is, there is this element of uncertainty in your mind, which tells you, you know what, I might need to have a backup. You know what if there is no electricity? What if everything is right but there's no power at the station? What if everything goes right but then there's someone charging and there's long waiting time? So we are solving for those issues already together. GLIDA is expanding network at a rapid pace. Uh, we are ensuring that we give reliable access. So one of the things that we've successfully done is give reliable information real time to our users on ground. So if you're driving to some location and you're allowed to route plan, allowed to see that what are the waiting times on the charging station where all the guns or dispensers are blocked or used by others. Uh, do you have visibility around, and we've solved for small things to make sure that this entire piece starts becoming reliable for our users, and that includes sending people notifications around a charger that is free and that they wanted to use. And that includes, a very small thing is a lot of chargers used to be unavailable on mobile application or platforms because of just a small emergency button that is there on the charger, and users used to be very uncertain about going to those locations. So what we did is hardware software integration is our forte. Now on a charger where there's emergency button, we don't say it is a faulted charger. We tell our users that, hey, this is a charger that is working. Someone press the emergency button, just go there, release the emergency, and you're going to be able to do charging. In addition to that, I think it's also very important to understand user demographics in India is an extremely different domain in altogether. You've got fleet drivers who have different uh, uh, tech capability, and adoption to technology apps is very different for that user related to a user who's a private EV owner. Most of them are very tech savvy with smart apps being used all around us. So we've also tried solving for different demographics. Like WhatsApp charging is one of the key breakthroughs that we've done to increase utilizations, where cab drivers use WhatsApp to stop their charging. Right, at some point of time, we also plan to launch that for our B2C customers. But our thesis has been around supporting different EV groups, EV users, because demographics are so different. So In a nutshell, we're trying to solve for technology. With technology, we're trying to solve for reliability. Of course, challenges include grid instability, uh, which again in some form and shape we can solve, in some form and shape we cannot. Apart from that, around affordability, we are already working closely with so many different players uh, to make sure that service providers and CPOs provide a affordable network, and that comes with, of course, cost efficient technology innovated solutions, and that is our mission at Static, right? We're trying to make cost effective technology innovative solutions, because if the capex to put a charger can go down, we are happy to help CPOs bring the cost down. We are also currently working on streamlining execution of sites for CPOs, where we are going to be very soon launching a B2B SaaS product where CPOs will be able to manage execution on sites in a more efficient manner, bringing their costs to install charging stations down by proper management. Uh, all of these things, I think, would eventually lead to an affordable and reliable network, with, of course, government doing some sort of work on grids. And then, of course, the third one is accessibility. I think India at some point of time is now also going through a journey where accessibility is going to be less of a problem. People today don't really have to use 20 apps. We've reduced that down to at least 10% apps, if not more. And you can literally have these one or two apps and you can plan your charging and do charging. So, no more adding money in various different wallets, which was also such a discrete problem to have. So this is what we're trying to solve for. But accessibility also will come with CPOs, right? There are CPOs, there's money pouring in, markets growing at a 25% CAGR, and I'm sure at some point of time in the next 2 years, a lot of money is going to be poured into the infrastructure business in EV charging, and that probably will also stir up our charger sale business and aggregation business. All goes hand in hand. Over to you, Avdesh sir.
Yeah. So, Raghav, you have rightly explained that what plagues the industry at this stage, and from the consumer's point of view, how they can adopt the to the electric vehicles, particularly the car and the buses. And you rightly said that the reliability of the charging infrastructure and the right information, the availability of the information in the real time, these are the two elements. So that he has already explained. What I would highlight for the consumers or listeners advantage is that there are a couple of misinformation is prevailing in the industry regarding the public charging infrastructure, and I just want to I would say clear that myth, or say the misinformation. See, as we speak today, one of the bloggers report which I was going through, and that blogger is publishing the report every 6 months, and they evaluate all the charge point operators. They go through their apps, informations, and see availability data. As we speak, we have in India close to around 14,000 charging points, including Type 2 and CCS2. And this is very important. I'm not uh, including the numbers of the 15 ampere socket, because ultimately electric vehicles can be charged through the 15 ampere socket as well, so it might take more time. But essentially, the standard product which we recommend the people to use is the EV, Type 2 AC chargers and the CCS2 chargers of a different configurations. So 14,000 chargers are available, charging points are available across country, and we have a total electric cars which is compatible with Type 2 and the CCS charging is roughly around 300,000 cars, roughly 3 lakhs. So if you see from that angle, already we have achieved close to around 1 is to 20 ratio. So one charging point against every 20 cars. Now, this is something which is as good as any OECD countries or any developed countries have achieved, right? Barring few places like China has 1 is to 6, or Netherlands has probably 1 is to 8. It's more on the type 2, but mostly 1 is to 20 is a ratio which we have. It's a good number. But what is important, where Raghav had pointed out, that even though you have this 1 is to 20 or 1 is to 10, unless the charging points are available most of the time, customer will not get the confidence. Like in the petrol stations, we don't think that we will not find the gasoline there. That's a very rare case. Similarly, but in the charging, we are dependent upon the grid and primarily on the power. But as power availability is becoming more and more reliable, this availability would be much better during the upcoming days. But where the CPUs is required to maintain is that whatever is in their control. So it means the hardware should be selected such that the hardware performs better all the time. Hardware doesn't go for any unnecessarily shutdown or any maintenance because of some issues with the hardware. So that's important, and that's where selection of technology is very important. Who is your partner of the charger manufacturers? That's one. And second, what is important is that how you are managing the communication with the customers. As Raghav said, that emergency press. Now, this is a very common phenomenon. Initially, we experienced that a lot of people were just pressing the emergency button because somehow the system was not working and the guns were not getting disconnected. So only option left was to press the emergency button. That's fair. But after pressing the button, once you have released your car, what is expected from a good, I would say from the etiquette point of view for other fellow EV users who will come later is that you just remove those emergency press button. That is what we expect, right? But now with the technological solutions which Raghav has suggested, that they are communicating to the customer in the real time that look, charger is functioning, power is available. Only thing is that emergency button is pressed. It has not been released. You go there, release it, and use it. So these are the communications also very important for ensuring that the customer has a greater confidence in the charger network. So I think these are the issues which is being addressed. So except for the power availability, which I am confident over a period of time it will only improve. It will not go worse. It will only improve. So things stands to be much better, and in I think in very shorter time.
So, adding to this, how has Static and GLIDA collaboration enhanced infrastructure utilization for GLIDA as a CPO and also optimized charging station placements?
Yeah. So I mean, since the obvious advantage is that, as I said, that if you are visible on a different applications also, so it means you are taking the advantage of their reach as well amongst the customer, because ultimately the asset which you have put on the ground requires to be sweated more and more. And who would use it? Ultimately the EV user. And if EV user knows that fine, the chargers are there and it is available, it is functioning, it is reliably functioning, then the possibilities of the consumer turning out at that particular charging station enhances. And that's how it has happened. And we have seen, I mean, without going into the specifics of the percentage of utilizations, but I must say that because these collaborations we signed last year December, I mean December last year means 24 23 December, and we have materialized from April onwards. We started executing on the ground from the April 24 onwards. So during the 9 to 10 months, what we have seen, the utilization of our network, by collaborating with Statiq platform, the utilization has increased by at least 40 to 50%, right? So whatever we were clocking, 40 to 50% utilization has increased. So definitely this shows the power of the synergy, the power of the collaborations, because then you are able to reach more and more customer. So that's what has been our experience.
So,
Raghav,
let's
you like to
Raz.
add?
No, I think I compliment with what you said, sir. I think a very important breakthrough in this partnership uh, has been the fact that we've been able to see that users, irrespective of number of CPOs on an app, end up organically choosing a reliable CPO. Today we have more than 25 CPOs listed on the Static app for charging, and While you said you told um, your side of utilization increases and all of that, I can certainly tell you that our data shows that people are more conscious towards reliable networks like GLIDA. So even if we have more than 25 networks, we've seen that people today know how to choose a reliable charging infrastructure service provider. And that has resulted in, and all of these efforts by GLIDA on technology, on creating reliable network, being very critical on the locations that are being chosen, are now visible on grounds with increased visibility to customers for sure, but these are now visible on ground in respective numbers on increased utilizations for sure.
So, Raghav, as you rightly mentioned, that grid stability is still a problem that we are facing. So, what strategies are being implemented to ensure grid stability and uninterrupted charging services to our end customer?
So I think uh, I'll let Avdesh sir, who probably is better an expert on this than me, answer about how grid stability in India would probably be solved for, and what can CPOs do, because from my sense, CPOs and EMSPs can only do little to keep the customer informed and probably get reliable chargers uh, who can handle grid stability at a fault level. But sir also pointed out that grid at some point of time is going to increase, and that is not a concern. On stability side, sir, if you would want to add something, please.
Yeah. So, Sakshi, as far as grid is concerned, it should be understood by everyone because we, in our daily life, we deal with the grid. We deal with the electricity supply, and it varies, from state to state. So every state has a different level of power supply, reliability of the power supply. But having said so, on which you can't do anything. As a company, you can't do anything because it's purely in the control of the government and the regulators and the distribution companies. But as a CPO, if you have, I would say, a framework in place where you keep consumers' convenience or the reliability of the network is the the primary element, then you would probably invest more time in selecting the locations, that which locations are having the reliable power supply. So that is one way by which we are managing the grid stability. That's one. Or grid reliability, I would say, not the stability, but the grid reliability, I would say, so that we have a power supply more or less 24 by 7. Now, there would be definitely certain locations, particularly along the highways, which is very strategic for an interstate movement. Because if you want to travel from Delhi to Chandigarh, you need to have a charging stations in between. And unfortunately, in India, most of the highway locations, I'm not saying every highway locations, but most of the highway locations are currently fed by the rural electricity feeder. And generally, the rural electricity feeder does not have necessarily 24 by 7 supply, right? So obviously, one option is that you go and set up the diesel generator there as a power backup. But then this defeats the entire purpose of adopting the electric vehicle, because one of the element for adoption of electric vehicle is to reduce the carbon emissions as well. So there you need to be also very careful. And then if there are locations on the highways where you can bring in from the urban feeder, it might require certain additional investments, but it gives you the reliable power supply. So that's we have done at some of the locations, which is a very, I was the where along which the movement of the vehicles are very large in number. So that's another strategy which normally we do and the CPOs can adopt. And the third aspect I would say is that some of the locations you can evaluate that can you have the battery as a backup? Can you have that one? I'm not saying that at every locations the battery as a storage can be the solutions. We have still not been able to do it at any locations, though we are evaluating couple of locations because it has a commercial considerations as well. But then these are the three ways by which you can do it. See, what is important for us is that apart from the reliability, also important is that what is the source of energy, and what we are doing for, because that EV, if you're adopting, you should be more towards the greener, right? It is considered to be the champion for reducing the carbon emissions. So though we have the grid currently dominated by the fossil based power, but still that grid is getting greener and greener every day with more and more solar and wind coming into the grid. But what we are doing, the government has a program where you can convert your existing electricity connections to the green connections, or the green energy. You have to pay some extra money per unit of cost to the government, but then they convert you into the green connections, and they issue you a certificate that fine, the power which has been supplied to you is from the power which we have purchased from the solar or wind, because every distribution company in the country has a renewable purchase obligation. So they have a clear quota that how much energy they have purchased from the green sources and who are their customer. So I think this is also one of the important element for us, that the customer, when they come in to our charging network, they should be assured that the energy which they are drawing from our network is driven by the green, and we have started that. So probably Telangana is one state where we have done maximum number of stations has been converted to the green, and we have taken upon our target that in next couple of years we should convert all our locations to the green sources.
That's really good to know, sir. That was a fascinating deep dive into the gaps and opportunities in EV infrastructure. Building on that, let's now talk about how GLIDA and Static are making EV charging more accessible to the end user and convenient. So, how are your charging stations strategically placed to cater to both urban commuters and long distance travelers? And what role does this partnership play in building charging corridors that connect major cities and highways across India? Avdesh, so if you can take this up first.
Yeah, so I mean, this we have already discussed during the last half an hour. We have already discussed that it is primarily the we are present across the highways, the different cities, the shopping malls, the point of interest for the customers. Uh, what additionally we have been doing as a CPO, because we have the advantage of knowing that how the customer ultimately will evolve and what kind of vehicles would come into the market, and we are taking a proactive steps like, so we are now continuously upgrading, or I would not say upgrading, installing a chargers of higher capacity, because now more and more EV are being sold which has a larger battery capacity, and they also have a faster charging ability or capabilities. So there is no fun of sticking to those 30 kilowatt or 60 kilowatt chargers. Yes, while that will dominate because most of the vehicles will still be around that capacity, but then there are set of vehicles which is requiring 100 kilowatt, 150 kilowatt, 200 kilowatt, 250 kilowatt power. So we are setting that train, and we are installing those chargers. Like recently we have done uh, in Delhi, the DLF Cyber Park, in Hyderabad, in Lucknow, along the Delhi Chandigarh highway in the Karnal, is 200 kilowatt multi dispenser units. So any consumer, any vehicles can get power up to 200 kilowatt from one connectors at one particular point of time. And at the same time, 8 vehicles can be connected. And if that is connected, then the load will be distributed. So these are the innovative ways by which we are taking advantage of the available technologies, which is already there, prevalent in the world. So Europe is quite advanced in that, and that also pushes the Indian OEMs, to go for that kind of a product. And now we are seeing a lot of charger OEMs are reaching out to us that why don't you buy from us, these dispenser kind of things. So that is something which is good for the customer because they will get high powered chargers, availability or accessibility, the word which Raghav used, accessibility. So they will get that accessibility, uh, and that will also pushes the convenience, or I would say improve the comfort and convenience of the customer. So that's how we are doing, the public charging infrastructure. Raghav, you would like to add on this?
No, I think I resonate with you on this, sir. In terms of uh, getting getting better at charging infrastructure. I'm sure addition of new chargers, higher capacity chargers, dispenser kind of units that GLIDA has already put in, of course, helps. Uh, as an EMSP or an aggregator, which is aggregating demand at a very large level in the industry today, we are also probably going to be positioning ourselves 6 months down the line, uh, uh, where we'd be knowing demand hotspots, we'd be knowing places of gaps. We usually keep getting these requests from our customers directly from the houses, from the horse's mouth. You get to know what is it, what are the places where there are no chargers, what are the places where our chargers and are still being overutilized. So at those levels, I'm sure this when this partnership fosters in the next 2 quarters or 3 quarters, we'd also be looking at strategically working with CPOs to expand charging network across demand hotspots.
Thank you, Raghav, and thank you, Avdesa, for highlighting how accessibility and strategic station placement are reshaping the EV journey. Now, let's shift gears and discuss what the future holds for EV charging and the innovations we can expect from this partnership. So, my next question is directed to Avdesa. So, what is GLIDA's vision for India as a charge point operator?
See, I mean, when we started, this would sound very philosophical, but then the objective was very clear that the customer should get. So our vision is that how do we make the public charging available to the car users at the same convenience as they get at home, right? And obviously, in the process, we also want to be reaching out to every second user of the EV car in times to come. So that's the broader vision of the GLIDA, is that how do we make the public charging as convenient, as safe as it is at the home. So that's my vision. But on the technology side, I would love to hear what Raghav is thinking, that in next couple of years or 3 years, what kind of technology he is seeing in the public charging emerging.
No, sir. I think first things first. This industry has moved at great pace. Uh, 3 years ago, aggregation, honestly, because we were trying to do that, we were aiming for that. Aggregation looked like a far distant dream because of technology gaps, because of reliability issues, and then, of course, also because of strategic decisions from CPOs, where most of the CPOs, unlike the European market in India, wanted to be EMSPs themselves, and they wanted to position their brands as the go-to apps. And they agree, and this is the journey of any super aggregation model, right, where everyone wants to have their apps, but then reliability prevails, user experience prevails, and then everyone knows what are they best at. For example, GLIDA knows that charging infrastructure, network reliability is their forte, and we know user experience, digitization, technology is our forte. On on the charger level, in talking about innovations on charger levels, I think dispensers and these load balancing chargers are going to be the next big thing, because that also helps you uh, cater a lot of captive fleet demand, to balance that with grid availability, if not stability, availability for sure. So either dispensers or load balancing on chargers is not a remote thing anymore. We've already started seeing this on ground. In terms of mobile application or in terms of using the chargers, I have resonated with you always that mobile applications may not always be the best mode of charging for customers. uh, Now, will it be POS machines, or it be RFID cards, or it be QR codes on chargers? These are different options available. As a tech company, we are gearing up for all of these. As a tech company, we are gearing up for POS machines on chargers. How feasible is that? We're working towards it. We are RFIDs are already not a remote thing. I think one big innovation that is going to happen, and we are already working on it in very advanced stages with a couple of OEMs, is that in the last 3 years or 2 years rather, OEMs have become extremely active in terms of conversing around how would their customers get charging experience. Uh, Although some of the narratives that OEMs have do not fit into the narratives that we as charging ecosystem players have, but OEMs have certainly agreed to a lot of user experience driven conversations, which have positioned us to steer the plug and charge ecosystem. So we did launch the auto charge, which is more of a workaround to plug and charge and is uh, not 100% implementation version of auto plug and charge. But I think the next big thing in the next 2 years has to be plug and charge. And I think one very innovative and as tech founders, we always have things that we do not know how to solve, and we keep working towards those. And one of the things that I think we are trying to solve today, and we are desperate to kind of break that through, is RFIDs and plug and charge mechanisms on an aggregated network. Because user at that particular time, maybe our audience which understands uh, uh, the architecture a little more might relate to this, and certainly you would have researched that chargers are interacting with customer, and chargers are interacting with the CPO CMS. But when it comes to aggregation, mobile application is fine. But if there's an aggregated RFID card that has to be used on a CPO charger, that is still not available or has not been solved just yet. We are working towards it, but I think aggregated network needs to be enabled for uh, alternate modes of charging apart from mobile application, and then only people would be able to go away from apps, because at one point of time people don't want to use apps. On the other hand, they don't really have the liberty to use RFIDs or auto charge on aggregated network. So that I think will more or less shape how charging is going to be accessed by the end customer.
Good.
So that was an inspiring look into the future of EV charging. Now let's hear from you, our audience. It's time to address your questions and explore the topics you're curious about. So we have a question from Prajot Sathe. This is directed to Avdesh sir. So as I understand it, Static is that will manufacture the hardware and GLIDA is the CPU. Will GLIDA also play the role of an EMSP?
Okay. That's a good question. See, we are EMSP for our own chargers. So, I mean, that's what currently we are doing. I mean, currently we are not hosting anybody chargers, and so for us, we are EMSP. But for larger perspective, we have roped in on partnership with the Statiq, who is a pure play EMSP as well, and that's where we are doing it.
Raghav, I have a question for you. So you ventured into charger manufacturing in the late 2023. So what motivated you to enter this competitive industry, and how are you carving out a unique space for yourself amidst the established players like Exicom? Additionally, what sets your approach apart from others?
Sorry, additionally.
What sets your approach apart from others?
Yeah. So see, I guess Avdesh sir touched on this when we started this conversation. Are we venturing into charger OEM business back 3 years back was a very organic decision that came from the outcomes of we operating as a CPO, and we saw a lot of value add missing in chargers, and the biggest value add was not just on features. What we understood was that this industry is going to move at a very rapid pace. So having a few set of features today and getting them made from an OEM is less helpful than having control on technology, or probably having an OEM in the market which can innovate as fast as the market grows. So that was our vision of launching static chargers. Uh, so one, we were trying to solve for problems that CPOs face because we were ourselves a CPO. Second, we knew that if we venture into this market, the pace at which we would make changes in this ever evolving market is going to be faster than any other charger OEM. So we back our innovation and tech first approach, number one. Second, of course, our learnings of CPO have helped us reap rewards while we were implementing this in charging solutions. So it's not just about the learnings that we have had, we applied those, but it is more about uh, innovative things that will have to keep happening for the next 3 4 years in this market before anything starts becoming commoditized. So next 3 4 years, I think huge amount of innovation is required, and we wanted to place ourselves as an OEM which can do faster innovation and changes by having control over tech, and that is when you can actually break through user experience, right? That's what we've been able to do. Where are we placed on, and how do we compete with other players without naming them? Is the fact that this is also one of our fastest and highest revenue generating businesses today. We have replaced major OEMs, global OEMs in various CPOs and OEMs. Uh, and One of the most proud moments for us is day after tomorrow, when one of the most anticipated EVs in the market is getting launched. And uh, we are taking pride in the fact that this EV comes with our chargers. So that is one of the feathers in our charging equipment cap. That's how it has been, and now we are supplying to. And uh, another achievement is we supplying chargers to someone like Glida, who's got global experience, comes from a huge amount of global exposure towards the e-mobility world. So being evaluated by players like Glida and Shell uh, is another achievement for us, and we're moving in that direction uh, day by day.
Congratulations on that, Raghav. So next we have a question from Charles Nadir. Hi Raghav and Avdesh sir, are you open to host your stations on other EMSPs, at least to show the real-time status? Avdesh sir,
Yeah.
if
Yeah,
you can. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. Obviously, this is something to do with our strategy at this stage, and generally in the public discourse. I mean, as a company policy, we do not discuss the strategy, but then Charles can reach out to me directly, and then we can have a conversation around that.
Raghav, you have any thoughts on this?
Same page. This is more of strategic than bipolar. So we and we as an aggregator do not really decide where CPOs host chargers. We as an aggregated EMSP are trying to make the best user experience mobile app, and this is a fair market play. CPOs can list chargers wherever they think they'll get utilization from, and that should not worry us. You've got Radisson Hotels selling hotel rooms on Make My Trip and IBBO both. So we are the aggregator here. So apart from the static network, I don't think we hold decisions around uh, where to host what.
Okay, great. So we have this last question from Ashish Arora. GLIDA and Static, both being the prominent players of India's EV ecosystem, can we soon expect the charges along with BSS or power majorly from an renewable energy source?
Yeah. So as I said, that we have already, as far as sourcing the power from the renewable energy, we have already taken the steps. In Telangana, we have converted most of our sites where the power is procured through the renewable sources. When it comes to the BSS, as I said during my conversations also, that this is something which is being evaluated because ultimately it's a question of the commercial viability as well. But definitely sourcing from the renewable sources, because government has permitted that one, and they have especially categorized a green tariff where you pay some extra money and then you get the connections converted to the green. So that is already there. But if the intent of the Ashish, is to see that whether we can tap into the open access directly. I would say this is still a long way to go, because even though we have an open access where threshold has been brought down to 100 kilowatts, but the challenge is in the operationalization of that one, because it requires CPUs or any consumer to do the scheduling in advance, one day in advance, in a 15 minutes time block. On the public charging station, it's very difficult to give a schedule in advance that tomorrow when Ashish will come to my charging stations. Right. So this will be very difficult to operate the open access. Another challenge with open access is the banking. That even if, let's say, on the scheduling you are not fulfilling the scheduled time, but then still you have a banking. Normally, the banking is allowed only for 1 month. So it means whatever shortfalls you have during the entire month, you can make up within the month itself. Now, again, the public charging, the where it is at this stage, it will be difficult to manage that one. And if you are not, then you will end up paying a huge payment under deviation settlement mechanism. So I don't see that open access is coming into play unless you have a very large captive requirement, and there you can tie up with some solar or the wind energy generator. But yes, through the green tariff, that is what we are targeting. That is the via media. We can convert all our charging stations to the green tariff.
I
So
think
just
I think
one
there's
more.
also one more question from Rakesh on V2G,
Yeah.
and I wanted to touch
Yes.
on it as
Yeah, and
so.
that question is also from Akhila. Akhila Vijay Kumar. She is also asking that as for technology, where are we with V2X? So I think Raghav, you can combine these two questions. So
Yeah,
you are in
yeah.
the best position to answer this.
Yeah, so I think, see, a vehicle to grid, of course, is one technology that catches a lot of eyeballs uh, in today's future conversations around e-mobility. And I certainly feel that it has been proved so much in the US and European markets that it certainly should be given the importance that it is being given today. But at the same time, feasibility and market sizing and matureness of market is going to play a key role in how this technology shapes up. We all know it is already almost a $5 billion market in US today. Will be growing to around an 8 million, or rather a 25 million in 2035, and probably an 8 billion market in 2030. But at the same time, what is important to be understood is while Europe leads the V2G market share, probably around 30% of the V2G market share is led by Europe today. The biggest success there with V2G has been in plug-in hybrids, and that's one transition India hasn't seen. So, how will this shape up is yet to be seen. In terms of technology, I do not see a barrier. Honestly, there are chargers, there are cars, EVSEs, chargers, everything, and BMS all support V2G both on DC and AC today. Those are available, but I think in terms of application and adaptability, it's going to take some time. We will definitely see some amount of V2G happening in the next 2 years and onwards. But how much and would that scale up to $1 billion market is probably yet to be seen.
Thank
I
you,
think I
Raghav.
also,
For
I'm
Yeah.
sorry, I also wanted to pick this up by Ashish, where what's the solution being worked on the chargers which get blocked by ice? Uh, we've in some ways already been very cognitive of this particular problem where ice cars block chargers. Uh, what we've done, uh, what we've done in past is that in some of the places we've now done POCs where we've got automatic alarm systems, and if there's a car that's coming and there's a monitoring team, which was more of a less scalable solution. And I want to tell you, in future, in the next 1.5 2 years or so, this problem would be eradicated to a very large level by major service providers. We ourselves are going to be launching a solution across this particular problem, where we are now coming up with automatic bollards which will be operated using mobile applications. So this is a U-shaped bollard that sits in front of the parking and blocks entry of that parking for any other vehicle, and can only be and goes down automatically when you pay for charging using a mobile application. So I think digitized solutions comprised with mechanical solutions on ground is what we're trying to POC for right now. 2 quarters from now, you'll start seeing things like these on ground, with also key players being more and more susceptible towards user experience and such problems.
Yeah, and so Raghav, thank you. I think this is something which is very innovative because as a CPO, I mean, though even though Ashish said it from the consumer convenience point of view, which is paramount, because consumer doesn't get charging when they require. If this happens, I mean, which they have popularized the term called iced, right? But from the CPO point of view, this is a loss of revenue earning opportunities,
Yeah,
because if that space is available, CPO would be potentially earning the revenue, and that's where these kind of innovative solutions will be very helpful. And that clearly, as a CPO, we would be very keen to evaluate these kind of solutions.
for sure, sir. For sure.
So thank you, Raghav and Avdesh, sir, for your insights. So as we near the end of our session, I would like to thank our incredible speakers for sharing their valuable insights, and to our audience for your active participation. If you'd like to learn more or get involved in building a greener future, feel free to reach out via LinkedIn, Twitter, or Instagram. Together, we can accelerate EV adoption and infrastructure development. So, thank you once again, everyone, and see you at our next event. Until then, let's keep driving the change for sustainable tomorrow.
Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much.
Thank
Thank
you,
you.
Sakshi. Thank you. Thank
Thank
you,
you,
all the
Avdesh.
listeners. Thank you, Raghav.
Thanks everyone. Thank you so much.
Thanks, everyone.